Hello everyone, today's topic is about the cross pollination. As we are studying about the kind of pollination in which we have already discussed about the self pollination, now it's time for the cross pollination. Basically, cross pollination is the transfer of pollen grains in every cases. In the self pollination also they are the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Now the twist arises from here that from the anther of the first flower of the one plant to the stigma of the flower of the another plant of the same species. This is basically in the cross pollination where the anther of one plant of flower transfer from to transfer to the stigma of a flower of another plant of the same species. That means if you are using a rose plant, then it should be the transfer between the rose plants only. So the cross pollination occurs like in this flowchart I have already drawn, that there is one flower in one plant and another plant is of same species and having another flower. So the pollen grain will transfer from this flower to the different flower in the plant 2. Now here is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther, this is the male part, to the stigma, this is female part. So this process defines the cross pollination. Now we are going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination. First we are looking at the advantages. Basically the advantages of cross pollination is opposite of the disadvantages of the self pollination. So first point says that the offsprings are healthier. Basically the new product or the new flowers are coming, they are basically much healthier than the as compared to the self pollination. Second point says that the seed produced are abundant and viable. Seed are basically produced in large amount and they are viable, that means they are also matured for the reproductions. Third point says that the new variety may be produced. In cross pollination there are high chance of producing new varieties, as we can say in the mango tree. If we see the mango tree, there are in the market there are different types of mango we eat. Basically some mangoes are in short, some mangoes are long in shape, some are from green outside, green from outside, and some are yellow in color. So basically this cross pollination helps the species to produce new variety. Now the disadvantages of this cross pollination. So the pollination is not always certain because some pollinating agent is always needed which may or may not be available at the proper time. So there is need for always a pollinator to transfer of pollen grains, as we are transferring the pollen grains from the one plant of the flower to the another plant of the flower. So there is always need for a agent. That means it may be any insect, it may be wind, it may be water. So this is the most disadvantages cross pollination. Second point says that there must be pollen grains has to be produced in the large amount to ensure that the chances of pollination, which means a lot of wastage of pollen grains happens in this case. Third point says that the process is uneconomical of the plant. Uneconomical terms means that the plant need to be, basically the flowers have to be so much showy, or we can say large in color or large in shape, and or colored, scented, or have to be produce nectaries, because they have to be look attractive for the pollinating agent. So this process is basically uneconomical for the plant in the cross pollination. Now the conditions which favors for the cross pollination are, basically there are 4 points. In this video we are going to look at the 2 points only. The first one says that the unisexuality. In many flowers there may be either male or the female part, either male and the female part, and they may be born on separate plant. In this way the cross pollination is only the possibility. For example, if you look at the papaya tree, in papaya usually they had separate male and female trees. Now the second point, that is dichogamy. Dichogamy means that the different timing of maturation happens. Basically the different timing of maturations of the androecium and the gynoecium, that means the gynoecium of the stigma, androecium of the anther. Sometimes in many bisexual flowers, the anther and the stigma of the same flower mature at different time. This term known as by the dichogamy. Now in some plants, anther of the flowers mature earlier than the stigma. Anther of any flower matures first. This is known by the term protandry. For example, if you take an example of any vegetable like ladyfinger, or we can say another vegetable that is pea. These are the best example for the protandry. That means in this type of plants, the flowers of these vegetables in this anthers matures first than the stigma. And there are some plants also that in that the stigma matures first, and this is known by the term protogyny. Now this protogyny, the stigma of the flowers mature earlier than the anther. And for example, if you take the example, the best example is for the people tree or plant, or you can use anything. So this was about the cross pollination and the advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination and the conditions required for the cross pollination. So in the next video we will look at the another topic. Till then, thanks for watching.